Disclaimer.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily the views of Tash, Becky, or Be Your Best You podcast.
Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes, and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up, and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this.
Psst. Hey guys, can we ask you a favour? Can we ask, if you haven't already, please make sure that you're following us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you can get updated with all the latest episodes every week when they come out. You never know, it might just be the thing that you need to hear at that time. Also, don't forget you can watch us on YouTube, so make sure you head over there and subscribe to us there.
And share with all your friends.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of Be Your Best You with Tash
And Becky, the guest edition. And today we're talking to Summer McStravick.
Summer is the founder of Flow Dreaming.
Yeah.
And we are going to be discussing, amongst lots of other things, this method of manifestation that Summer has created that she calls Flow Dreaming, which helps you basically create a blueprint for your life to manifest from.
Oh.
Summer's a fascinating person because she's been in the spiritual personal development world for a lot of years, and she actually worked for Louise Hay and co-hosted a radio show with Wayne Dyer for Hay House Radio. So she's a pro when it comes to spiritual healing, self-development, personal growth. But as we said, she has created her own method of manifestation, which she's going to talk us through. We hope you enjoy, guys. And today we have on the show Summer. Summer, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, Summer.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me. I know we're on different continents, so I'm waking up and you're going to sleep, but we'll have a great conversation.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Love that we can do this.
Yeah,
though.
I know. It's amazing. So, Summer, before we dig into all the exciting conversation we have planned for you, could you just tell everybody a little bit about you, who you are, and what you're currently doing in the world?
Oh boy, haha. In a nutshell, I guess I started my career in spirituality and personal growth. Good grief, like as a child, perhaps. Can you start a career when you're 6? Yeah. But I come from a very spiritual family who've always been involved in intuition, spiritual awareness, energetic healing, multi-generations. So this was always a very familiar, playground for me. By the time I got to college, I said, heck no, I'm not going to be like my family. They're a bunch of weirdo psychics, and I'm going to go to school for literature and do something important and sound. And so I did. But of course, as fate would have it, the first company that hired me happened to be Louise Hay's company. She wrote, "You Can Heal Your Life." I had no idea that I was entering headfirst, dunking back into this world. Eventually, after being there for about a decade, I left, but not before starting Hay House Radio, producing, just hundreds of audio episodes. What used to have CDs, books on CDs back then. That's what we did. And basically getting to work with Dr. Wayne Dyer for many years, co-hosting a show with him. Many, many extraordinary people that are still like huge, Marianne Williamson, on and on. So I consider my master's degree there. in
Yeah.
essence. And then finally, because I had written a book of my own called Flow Dreaming at that point, that miraculously got published, although miraculously I use that loosely because we know what miracles are like. I began teaching flow dreaming full time to people. Then I later started a school called Me School, which brought in hundreds of students over the years. And it was about a personal development, kind of a mystery school, teaching people about energy work, mindset work, pushing through ceilings and barriers, and essentially manifesting, because that's where I was really kind of like, that was my thing. Now, lately, I've been transitioning more into teaching empathic intuition. I'm just wrapping up a 4-month course in it right now, where I've brought people into the liminal space and basically showed them how to navigate it and how to get around in there. So that's it in a nutshell, like professionally. Personally, of course, there's all kinds of more interesting tidbits.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a lot.
That's quite the CV.
I know. I tried to chunk my life into these, discrete pieces. It's hard.
Yeah. That's insane. Oh my gosh, like amazing. So with all that being said,
Yes.
I'm we're really intrigued to dig into your flow dreaming and also the empathic intuition and that's really interesting as well. So we're going to put a pin in those two because we really want to come back to them. But
Yes.
what we'd really love to hear is kind of like you said, you've been doing this your whole life. You've been in this world for your whole life. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because most of the people that we speak to on the podcast, they have they've had experiences in their childhood, but something's happened to them later along down the line, which has brought them into the spiritual world where it's just been a part of you forever, which is really cool, I think. But could you kind of just dig into, I know you said there's a lot of like personal tidbits there and we know a little bit about your kind of backstory. Could you dig into your personal journey to where you are now, highlighting the kind of, the little nuggets?
Well, I'd say probably one of the strangest little tidbits is my family was involved in a cult when I was growing up. A Southern California hail bop type. If you remember the comet and all that, that actually happened about 2 miles from my house. We weren't part of them, but there was another one at the time. And it was at that point, my mom eventually got us out. But I began to look at people's beliefs. I had a Catholic father, a Baptist stepmother, my mom and her husband were in a cult. I began to look at spirituality as people just think whatever the dang well want to think. Why don't we pick something that makes us feel really good? Because everybody's giving me this conflicting information. They all say they're 100% correct. So I think that kind of loosened the boundaries a little, and it made me understand how a lot of spirituality is kind of based on dominance of other people and their thinking. You must be this way, you must think this way. And even in manifesting in the personal growth world, there can skew into that, which is you have to keep growing. You're never good enough. You have to keep going. I always call it's kind of the dark side of what we do, right? At a certain point, you say, I'm good. I'm just curious. Or I'm good, but I want to just solve some pain or suffering inside me now. Or I'm good, but there's still some healing I want to do. Not that I have to become something else for some other purpose. So that's a little tidbit that I think brought me into this career eventually of teaching other people a way of thinking, and a way of evaluating their experiences, a way of plotting out who you are, what you want to become next, and having full permission to break the mold. Because like I said, my family's always broken the mold. My mom's an intuitive medium, so she talks to dead people, or as I prefer to call them, disembodied consciousness. I mean, it's all the same. In a brain, out of a brain, still there. We can go into that and the whole AI thing too if you want. There's a lot we could talk about. My grandmother was a physical healer, mad physical energy. So she did Touch for Health. She did self-taught acupuncture. And get this, they come from a family of turkey farmers here in the U.S. So I don't know where this little streak of wildness came from, but automatic writing. Her mother also, and another strange tidbit, I'm the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter. I have my firstborn is the oldest daughter. Oh, firstborn, oldest daughter. So we go back like generations of being wackadoodle like this. I say wackadoodle lightly. I'm personally proud of my, my skill set, but and I'm not saying you have to be that way to do this work very well. It just, for me, it makes that mitochondrial connection a little more interesting, although, of course, nothing is proven. More tidbits? Should I jump around a little bit? Train of thought here?
Yeah.
Keep going. All the tidbits.
Yeah. Something you said about why people eventually dip into personal growth. I think a lot of people, if you don't grow up the way I did, which is 99% of people, you have some experience in your life where you start to say, what else is there? Like, really, this is it. And for many people, they call it the midlife crisis, or women who are starting to empty nest, or you've had your kids, you've maybe divorced, you're doing your career, and you say, is this it? Like, really, this is it? It's just more of the same stuff after this?
Yeah.
And then the quest begins of, well, what is there that I don't know about? Now that I've solved all these, earthly milestones, if you will. Another thing that brings people in, of course, is some sort of transition. And that's somebody they love has passed. They have a health diagnosis. And then they begin to say, wait a minute, everything that I thought was important is shifting ground under my feet. What the heck do I do next? And then, they're plunging in. So there's a lot of ways to get in. Some people to actually, there's a third way, less common. Some people are at a point in their life where they're saying, I can do more. I can be more. I can feel it. I can taste it on the tip of my tongue. I just don't know how to get there. Like, I have not been given the correct tools. My college or high school education did not set me up for what does it take here to get to there. And so there, I call it the be seen or success minded. And you start unraveling a lot of the things that I say keep you small, that you've been taught to stay safe around. And then those people plunge in. So those are three different areas, and I've been through all of them, which is why I'm bringing them up. I'm also a breast cancer survivor. As you can tell, I'm very open. I told you already about my cult, my breast cancer. Anything else you want to know? I married my high school sweetheart. So yeah, every one of those events for me has kind of pushed me into a deeper dialogue with life and the universe and consciousness generally. And like you guys, I perfectly understand that consciousness is embodied and disembodied. It is distributed everywhere. It is, there was a concept years ago called the holist physicist concept. This was going back, say, 20 years when, a lot of the popular stuff today, manifesting and quantum, all that was just barely whispered in circles, back in 1998, for instance. Oh my God, I'm telling you how old I am. Anyway. But in the holist physicist world, and I mention this because when I was doing live radio and podcasting, I went out and interviewed a bunch of these physicists just so I could get an understanding. Dean Radin and Ahmet Ghazwani and Fred Allen Wolf and a lot of the old, pioneers in this world and people who are still running, big like ions, for instance, where they are examining ESP and all that. The idea is that everything is consciousness. This has become an old idea at this point, but everything is consciousness. Like literally this pen, and people say, this pen doesn't have consciousness. And I'm like, well, you know what? Imagine if this pen is sort of like your fingernail, right? The fingernail is part of you. It's made up of your cells. Maybe it doesn't have an individual awareness, but would you agree that it's part of life? Or even better, a cell in your finger. Would you agree that there's something different or special or deep inside it? There's a DNA, there's an RNA, there's a structure. So then I say, well, what if you're a little cell in the universe? You are like the universe's fingernail. You're part of a bigger distributed system. So if you want to navigate through that system, it makes sense that just like my cell can use different pathways to go places in my body, go to my heart or my lymph or whatever, why wouldn't we have that same connection to be able to move freely around physical and non-physical space? I know I'm getting a little technical here. I hope that's okay.
Yes, yeah.
I love to make people think big thoughts. I want shower thoughts tonight. Sitting there like, what did she say?
That is what we're all about, because just before you started going down that kind of track, I was just thinking, like, for you straight away, I just see it's just curiosity, isn't it? It's just questioning everything. You've just got such a questioning mind, and it's just when you go down this path, when you start realizing, and I found this, that consciousness is, non-local. Consciousness is kind of everything. For a curious mind, that just blows everything wide open, doesn't it? Because there's just no end to where you can go, and I just
Exactly.
love that. I love it.
And that's
It's
what
a
we want
rabbit
people
hole
to do.
without end.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Or more like a gopher tunnels, because those things never seem to end. If you've ever had gophers in your yard,
We don't have them
no.
here.
No.
You live in the city. Come on. Anybody in the country knows that gophers are your nemesis, and you can never find the end of their tunnels underneath your garden.
Really?
Yeah.
But that is what it's like. Then that's a very good analogy, because
Yeah.
it's just, and the deeper you go, don't you? And the more you realize, I don't know anything.
No.
And there's so much I'll never know. And I just think that's really humbling as well, isn't it? Because I think before you get into, I know for me as well, I was definitely more like on the science side of things, and I wanted definitive answers to everything I wanted to know. And then when you start diving into this world, you get really comfortable with being okay of not knowing, and kind of getting down to the fact that you're probably not gonna know a lot of stuff whilst you're embodied here in this life for now, anyway, where we are right now. But and I love that.
I do. It just
It
it
reminds-
just opens your mind, doesn't it, to everything in life,
Yeah. It reminds me, I had a piece of paper printed out and taped to my wall back when I worked at the publishing house, and it said, "I hope I'm wrong in 3 years." And what that reminded me was that a lot of people, and especially spiritual teachers, will tell you that they have the plan, to go back to what we talked about in the beginning. Even personal growth teachers today, this is how life is, this is how the universe is. And then you become stuck in that paradigm. You become like, well, now I know what's right. Now I know what's accurate. The thing is, as soon as you get stuck in that, you're not flowing, right? Because I have the flow philosophy. You're not flowing. You start to stagnate, right? The more information keeps accumulating, but you're not paying attention to it. So I think that's why curiosity is so key. What you believe today, I hope is different in 3 years. I hope it's expanded. I hope some of it turned out to be wrong. I hope some of it, blew your mind and got bigger and more depth to it. So I'm constantly searching, and I think that's also what's created a kind of fearlessness in the work I do. Look at me talking so highly of myself. Yes, I'm fearless. Let's just say, I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with how other people will see them. And like they keep their, search their inquiry into this a little secret, like I only tell my best friend and that's it. My husband knows nothing. By fearless, I mean, again, if we don't know things and we're searching for answers, and we can change our answers within ourselves all the time, who's to say you can't just explore all the time with this sense of unguardedness, openness, sharing with others? And the thing is, as you know, we attract people who are often similar to ourselves or the antagonist of ourselves. I call them the sand in the oyster, right? They're the ones who are like, I didn't bring that person in my life. I'm like, yeah, well, you want to make a pearl, right? You got to put the sand in the oyster. So we bring in people who are going to echo and mirror us. And the more that we pretend to not be who we are, the more we have people who are also not pretending to be who they are. And then we start traveling. And that's, again, one of those things that often leads us to, what am I doing? Where are my friends? How come I'm not close with anybody? What's going on? So this constant move into more authenticity, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you want to hear a little anecdote? Because I've been going off in this spatial place of whatever. I'll bring it back down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please. We're loving it. Anyway, by the way.
All right. Let's see, which one should I choose? I think one of the most interesting experiences I've had as an empath. So I do two things. Sorry, I'm just breaking that thought for a minute. I teach people how to manifest and create essentially, I call them energetic blueprints for their lives, where you basically kind of stamp into non-physical what you want physical to play out for you. I call it like an architect's blueprint. Build a house. You build one without a blueprint, God knows what you're going to get. It's whatever they throw together. You have a blueprint, everybody knows what to do. So that's one thing I do. The other, though, is, like I said, I like to be kind of a navigator of all the spaces. And I remember working one time with a woman who was one of my clients. She was really upset. Her best friend's husband was in the hospital. He was in a coma, and she wanted to know, what's he thinking? And I said, coma people are kind of the hardest to reach because there's a point to the shutdown, and often their consciousness is sort of bridged between places. So it can be really confusing in there. But then I said to her, I'll just still see this to this day. I'm like, but you know what? I can see him. And there's this beautiful glistening pond. It's like in the Ozarks. It's like a bayou, and there's overhanging trees, and the sun is sparkling. And he's walking toward this pond, and it's like he's going to go fishing or something. And I said, it just feels really peaceful. It feels beautiful. It just feels good. She gets a text on her phone. He passed. And I was like, whoa, this is the only time I've ever been in someone's field during a passage.
Wow.
And narrating it like that. I've had other very close calls, but that's the most stellar one. And it really brought home to me, again, you can talk and locate anybody, anywhere, at any time, frankly, as long as you have the inner faith and confidence to try and do so. So anyway, that's an aside, just to bring it back from all the lofty talk.
Oh, wow.
That's
Cool, isn't it?
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and it
love
turned out the pond, that was where his dad used to take him to this big pond as a kid. We found out more later, and I was like, yeah, well, he's at the pond. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so lovely. And I do, honestly, I always, it never gets old to hear
No, it
stories like that, does it?
I
Of
love that.
people's transitioning
Yeah.
and what they're experiencing. That's why people who listen to the show know that near-death experiences were when I lost my mum. So that's how I got into the spiritual world. My mum passed away, and that chucked me into this. And near-death experiences were the first thing I kind of hit on in this journey, and they gave me so much comfort, for one, but also just completely solidified my faith in the fact that there is something after this life. So I'm always grateful for like people who share their near-death experiences, and and that's why I'm really passionate about sharing them with people, because it did so much for me. So thank you for that little anecdote.
That's beautiful.
Yes,
I love
Yeah.
that. I'd love to be able to see that as well for somebody.
So have you always been intuitive like that then? You've always been able to, because you said your mum was a medium. Yeah. Have you would you class yourself as a medium or?
Well, again, I think of myself more like a spiritual navigator. Medium is a term that I think it's kind of an old-fashioned term. It specifically means people who I've spoken with many. I've known many mediums, famous mediums, like John Edwards, for instance, who, they say, I saw dead people since I was a kid. They've just always been around. There's a big crowd of them. It's not like that for me. I actually have to kind of shift, right? Because I'm pretty locked into this.
Right.
We've all seen certain things out of the corner of our eye, or had maybe some very real impressions, like, is there really a person standing there? Oh my God. And then you go, wait a minute. Right. Yeah. Most of us have had things like that. But medium for me just means that you're talking with a disembodied consciousness. I could just as easily close my eyes and go into what I call your field. So imagine that everyone has a field of consciousness that's distinctly them. And the way that I teach my students is it's like an energy signature. You know how you can, write your signature and it's supposed to be just completely you? Imagine that every experience you've ever had in this life, or past, or future lives, or concurrent lives, if you want to get all outside of time, it's all a swirl of information that is constantly coming into you. You know those big solar umbrellas? You ever seen pictures like they talk about in space? Like they make these, it's almost like a parachute that's supposed to catch sunlight and power things. Sometimes I imagine it's like these floating jellyfish or solar, jellyfish, but we're catching experiences. Like every moment in time, like you just caught 20 minutes of experience with me. You're now embedded in me. I'm embedded in you. Be careful who you hang out with. Your mom was right, okay? But that means no, you're actually literally now part of my experience forever. Like forever. Your information, you've been coded in. It's not going to be lost. So when I'm looking for somebody, I'm kind of finding this composite, like what did all of that turn them into? If you could take it all and, push it down into something more solid, I'm like, okay, this is what Tosh feels like. She's got this sense to her, and I might describe it through my senses. I might struggle to describe it through my senses because a lot of words just cannot capture a person's energetic essence. We just don't have a vocabulary, at least in English, for it. So I often have to draw in different, sensory inputs. Like, she's got a feeling like a wheat stalk waving. She's got a fruitfulness with her. She's got there's a sense of I don't know, I can almost smell like umber or something like that. Right. So we'll struggle to describe it, but then we can have a conversation too. Once I kind of pick up on you, then we have a talk. And if you want me to look into somebody else, as long as you've had a personal connection with them and you know their signature, then I call it skipping stones. I go from you and then I go to them. And eventually, like skipping stones, it peters out because there's just not enough connection. There's no direct energy that anybody is holding for me to find them so easily. If I was more advanced, I probably could, but yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Well, you do enough.
there you go. So being a spiritual navigator means I kind of do a lot of different things, but I think everybody has things that are most exciting to them. So like in the class that I just finished, we covered mediumship, we covered reading other people's minds, reading places and spaces. Like you ever walk into a building and you're like, this place sucks. This get me out of here. And you don't know why. But it's a collection of all of these energy signatures, all of these beings with all of this that have been brought together, glued together by some force. Think of it almost like an atom, right? A molecule. Like they come together for some reason into this space. And some molecules are wonderful, like water, and some are terrible, like arsenic. So you go to some places, everyone's stressed out, everybody's freaking out about the layoffs, everybody's mad all the time. Everybody hates their boss, and you like, this energy space feels yucky. And when you go home at night, no wonder you feel yucky. You just bathed in, poop all day, basically. So take care of that. Quit or whatever needs to happen. So we pick our specialties. Some people love looking at animals, right? And then you have your animal communicators. Some people are totally fascinated with the body. And then you get your medical intuitives. So imagine it like going to medical school and then everybody gets to pick their rotations and kind of, well, I want to do dermatology, So I have a couple of my favorites. But truly, when you're using energy like this, you can parlay it into almost anything. Physical healing, whatever you have the most, I don't know, affinity for or love of. So it all fits together under my umbrella is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that makes total sense, and I do agree with you. It's like people just know what psychic medium means now, don't they? Because it's the kind of thing that there's kind of on the longest, I suppose everyone knows what it is, but there is so much more to it, isn't there? And and I was thinking when you were talking, because I know you said that you had your kind of mystery school where you were teaching things. Like that. And I know you said, obviously, everyone's kind of got their, I always think of it like this, everyone can learn to play the piano, but is everyone going to be Mozart or Beethoven? No, they had a special skill with that. And it doesn't mean you can't do it, but I do believe that everyone has their certain skills or
Yeah.
interests, and that's what you're supposed to do. So when you're teaching people these things, can you teach anybody? Do you believe everybody has the ability to learn these kind of skills? Obviously, they'll have their kind of special areas, but can you teach everyone, or do you have a certain person that comes to you, and how do you teach them if everyone has slightly different abilities?
Mm, I think making an analogy to art is a good way to start. Everyone can draw. Everyone draws very differently. Some people draw cartoons and they're amazing cartoonists. Some people are Van Gogh and amazing, classic artists. Pick your poison. And some people come in with, a greater, perhaps a natural gift, and they never use it, and it atrophies. Some people come in with not as much, and they practice, and they put in their 10,000 hours, and pretty soon they're decent. Maybe not stellar, but they're decent. So I've never spoken with anybody who couldn't at all. But I have seen people who are a little more already deep into their development, if you will. It's sort of like, imagine we all have this, let's call it the sense for a moment, like the sixth sense. Again, another classic way of describing this connectivity. If we all can see and hear and taste and touch and have this other sense, it's true, some people are born without the ability to see or to hear. But what happens is your other senses pick up the load, right? I can't see, but there are people who use or hear. There are humans who use echolocation like bats. They click, 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 and they can totally navigate around them. Think of it similarly. You may be relying more on this particular sense because you're relying less on another sense. Or you may not rely on that sense at all because you're very visual and you don't pick up on your extrasensory stuff. So it's I don't know, it's kind of a rolling question.
Yeah.
But it's worth anybody to just admit at least I have it. It's there. It's in my pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you
Mm.
find some people come in thinking they're sort of more in tune with one, but actually discover, oh no, it's smell or, and surprise themselves?
Mm. Uh, yes. Yes, I think I understand your question. Do they ever get
Yeah.
surprised on how they're receiving information?
Yeah. So they think maybe they get their messages through audio, but
Mhm.
and they do, but maybe when they come and work with you, they actually discover a sense that's even stronger than that they weren't tapped into.
I don't know. I've never really looked at it like that.
No.
Um, it's I teach my students to basically combine your senses to allow all of them to be open. There's something called synesthesia. Maybe you've heard of it. It is where a person, and some people are just born more this way. You say the number 3 and they immediately translate it to green. You say the number 1 and 1 is always silver. So it's sort of like a mashup that happens, a little crossing of wires. And I say, well, pretend you're that way. Pretend you're receiving information, and it's going to be a mashup of things that kind of go together, associative, if you will. And interestingly, I knew we were going to talk about AI. That's how AI parses information. They create associations and pattern recognition. We're kind of doing the same thing. Our senses are coming together to create a certain pattern. And we have to describe that pattern. And sometimes you have no awareness at all. Some people, it's just in your head. There you go. Like when I'm talking with somebody non-physically, it's just there. And it doesn't have to filter through anything. But if I'm really going in and trying to see what they're like, then I'll have to maybe describe them like I described Tash.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Oh,
Did I left you without even a question. Oh my God.
I'm like, right now, where are we going next? Because I'm really keen to dig into your flow dreaming. Can you tell us about that? Where did that come from? How did it start? And what is it? And how can we use it to help us?
Oh, I kind of already gave you a little hint when I talked about the energetic blueprint. So 20 something years ago, 25 years ago now, I was practicing, quote, old school manifesting with my mom. and we'd call each other on the phone. And we'd say all the affirmations, because remember, Louise Hay was my boss. So I'm like, I am rich and wealthy. I am doing wonderful. I am, and we kind of just helped each other, accountability buddies, basically. And I still remember something just strange happened, because she's pretty powerful, and I was no slouch at that time either. We just said, where are we? Like, we're at a place where we don't have to say words. It's just all feeling. It's just all knowing. And it was sort of like the moment we broke open this concept of flow. And flow back then was really limited to psychology. Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the father of positive psychology, talked about flow space, where the athlete is practicing their bat, and everything is flawless and easy, but it was all limited to things that we physically do. And I started to sense it as, no, it's actually a rolling movement of life. It's us moving through time. It is the collection of all things, and we are agents in this. It's not just happening to us. We are happening to life, and we often forget that. As life happens to us, no, you're actually happening to life. Get a little Truman Show or a little Matrixy on me here. We are happening to life. Life gets to respond to us as much as we get to respond to life. It's a two-way street here, folks. So from there, I began getting really into this concept of, quote, manifesting or co-creating. You guys know Abraham Hicks, right? I remember that's another fun anecdote. I actually got to produce a 2-hour broadcast and CD set with them, where I got to ask them my own questions for 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God. Interestingly enough, too, I remember seeing them back in, I think it was 1989, when they were just starting, and it was at a little, it was a hotel in our city, and they couldn't even rent a room. They just had us sitting around outside in chairs in the hotel restaurant area. And they sold hand cassettes with, that had been hand typed with like the date on it. It's so fun. So yeah, anyway. God, I'm making myself sound ancient, huh? Woo! Where was I before that digression? Hold on a second here.
About flow state.
Oh, yes, flow state, manifesting, how I got into that. So I went really deep in that for, I don't know, a couple of decades. Wrote 3 books about it. And eventually, some defining properties came out. Like, there's basically putting information out and pulling information in, right? The basic, binary ones and zeros of the universe. When you're putting information out, you are the agent. You are the creator. You are the one sketching your desires. You are the one initiating experiences. When you're pulling information in, you're receiving other people's information. You're receiving information from the universe. So we classically call the putting stuff out, or, if I'm typing on my keyboard on my computer, I am, quote, manifesting. I'm pushing my information into the world and encoding the world with what I'm generating. But everything has a two-way system. It's like AC/DC current, right? It's like electricity. Or there's flow and there's resistance, up and down, forward and backward, yin and yang, all of it. So when I'm pulling information in, I'm actually reading something from my computer, and I'm bringing that into me and allowing it to become part of me. That is your psychic, intuitive realm. So you're in the manifestational realm, or you're in the psychic or intuitive realm. They're just two sides of the same stuff, though. And people have just an affinity or an interest in one more than another. Or like me, I spent a couple decades in manifesting. I'm still into it, but my God, I've taught thousands of hours. I'm like, I want to talk about empathic intuition now. So I've been now sharing with people how to use the other direction, if you will, how to bring information in. But the core of flow dreaming is pretty simple. It's based on emotions. So I've actually taught this to a lot of, and I actually have psychology, a strange amount of psychology clients, academics. Kind of goes like this. Our emotion imprints the universe. right? Our thoughts typically get stuck in here. They're word bound. And you could tell us about thoughts because they often circle, right? They get stuck.
Yeah.
Emotion, though, if you think about how you feel something, it usually goes, bleh.
Yeah.
It just comes out. It's just like, "Ah," it's like a, an octopus squirting ink in the ocean.
Yeah.
So your emotion also contains thousands of words in just one feeling. I love you. What does that mean? Oh my God, I could write a whole book on what that means, when I say those little words. So when we are starting to program the world around us, the first thing I want people to key into is their emotional state. And I call it their emotional endpoints. Say everything you want is a feeling at the end. Like if you name anything you want right now, you want your podcast to go big and blow up and reach 1 million people. I'm just going to assume that. Okay. I don't know if you really do, but
We'll take
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, got it. Okay. You want that because that's the step you figured out, the thing that you're going to go after, the thing you're going to physically work toward, because we're here to physically work toward things, right? Why are you embodied? Like it's to work toward things. So you're working toward that, but the feeling behind it is going to be different. I want that because there's a deep desire in me, and this is where I say, let's go down the rabbit hole. There's a deep desire in me to help other people expand. Why? It just feels right. It just feels like I'm navigating my life the right way. It lights me up. It thrills me and connects me. Why? Because I really can't think of anything that I enjoy more than this. It just feels like the purpose I need to be doing right now. Does that feel good? That feels ecstatic. That feels like I'm more aligned than I've ever been with anything. Why else? Well, because I need to make money, frankly. And if I have to, work every day, I can't give my time to my podcasts. Great. Why do you need to make money? Because I need to feel safe. I need to feel secure. If I have money, then I have more time to do the things I love. Why do you want to have more of that? Well, if I'm doing the things I love, then I feel, again, purposeful. I feel safe. I feel like I have permission to do this thing, and I'm fully supported doing this thing. Can you see how we keep almost landing at the same emotional endpoint at the end? So what I often tell people when they're starting to manifest, people come in, they've heard all this dumb BS about, just say the thing 12 times, or I'm sorry, I just, no patience for that. If that's your thing, I just insulted you. I know, I'm so sorry. But it lacks the emotional bloom. It lacks the real connective opening into non-physical. So instead I say, find the emotional endpoint. I am doing something I love, adore, enjoy, making huge impact, fully supported, fully committed, never a doubt in my mind, all the money and support I need rolling in whatever form is the best, right? It could be a person who just completely pays for everything I'm doing. It could be a grant. It could be just everything, major advertisers. I don't really care. As long as it lets me do the thing where I'm feeling top, where I'm feeling that feeling. So I say, practice that feeling every day. And what happens then is you start to notice that all the little plans you have to get to those feelings are just your little human plans. And it's based on a narrow amount of information that you've got right now in your life. There's only so many ways you know how to make something, and you just picked a road. You picked a route there. But it doesn't mean it's the best route, the easiest route, or as I say, the most flowing route. So what we're looking for is the most ease-filled route. I always say, imagine the Earth going around the sun, right? It's just circling and circling. Nothing is getting in its way. It's on the path of least resistance. It's not trying. It just is. I say, if you imagine that as a universal principle of flow and ease, it means that every situation has flow and ease inside of it. Every single one. We often, though, choose situations that have resistance embedded in them because, one, we just simply don't know. We don't know. So we pick the thing that's harder, or the thing we think we have to do, or we're picking from our limited set of circumstances. Now, the circumstances you have around you, remember, have come from what you felt behind you already. They arrived because you felt stuff about that a while back. And here they are. They've kind of come into motion. So imagine that life is this flowing braid of information, and all of our information comes in and it joins, and then it, unjoins and maybe braids back together. But where we are right now comes from back there. So what you're seeing right now is a result of your past. That's not manifesting, frankly. That's just responding. And this is where, again, I draw a distinction. You need to react and respond, but you also need to pre-act and pre-spawn. And we forget that. So what I'm feeling now is me actually telling my future, I'm going to feel this now so that when I catch up to you, you have this new information there. And that's where I go into creating these, what I call emotional energetic blueprints. So circling back to emotion, how do we tell? Well, we say, I'm going to go into a space of pure ease, least resistance. I'm going to hit that emotional endpoint, and I'm going to allow all kinds of new information to flood in to support that. Things I have no clue about. I don't care what they are, as long as I feel that in the end, then I really can release all the ways I have to get there. And that's basically the cycle that we just work on over and over and over. It means being very present, though, because a lot of things get in the way, particularly what I call lack thinking. Other people call it scarcity thinking. It's going to be hard. It's going to take a while. It's going to be a long build. It's going to be hard to push through or penetrate. Other people are doing it better, whatever it is that we say to ourselves. So imagine if we're constantly shouting that out, like Octopus Inc. Of course our future is going to be living off that. It just ate all of that up. And now it's digesting it. And here you go. And you have a tummy ache, energetically. You're not where you want to be. So that's it in a very brief nutshell. And I know I had to fuse a lot of different ideas together, but I hope it made sense. The more you reach into it, the more you're like, oh yeah, I see how that works. So I teach people how to do that, and I bring them into that space. And then once they're there, they create these templates. They do their pre-action. They let go of resistance. They move into that absolute space of ease. And there you have it. That's manifesting for me. That's flow dreaming. It's like a 10-minute practice, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you. Like practically, how is it like a 10-minute meditation type thing?
It is not meditation at all. Which is confusing for some people. I will sometimes say meditation the same way I say that I'm a coach. I'm like, because people are familiar with certain terms. It's based on three different things that come together, stupidly easy things. One, guided daydreaming. I want your mind involved. I want you, if you're good with imagination, imagine it. If you're good with audio, hear it. If you could just feel it, feel it. Daydream your way in. And just like when you slip into a daydream, it's actually a kind of flow state, right? It's that liminal state. You are daydreaming, you're thinking about something, and then 10 minutes later, you don't know at what point your consciousness kind of slid away and you got into that, whoa, 10 minutes went by, what happened? So you want to be able to consciously notice now that you're getting into that state, to do it on demand, if you will. Second, we bring our emotion in. What are we going to do when we get there? We're going to feel, 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 feel. And this is weird for a lot of people because I'm asking them to practice emotions they have no right or reason to feel. I'm like, you are so supported. Everything in your life has come together in the most perfect sense. And they're like, Summer, that's never happened to me before. You are madly in love. You have the love of your life. That's never happened to me before. I'm like, imagine it. Just pretend. Pretend. You have to start generating emotions you have no right to feel. And every emotion, by the way, whole other topic. They're crayons in a crayon box. Everyone does something a little different. The yellow crayon does something different than the green crayon. So feeling protection and security does something different than feeling joy or gratitude. So we're going to use all the different emotions to kind of create this. Now, when you bring emotion and guided daydreaming together, you land in the flow state. And flow state is temporarily out of time, out of you kind of went from local to non-local. And even talking with you guys, you'll see sometimes I'm closing my eyes when I want to get a little better read on things. You will know you've been in flow when you come back and you say, that was not 10 minutes. Come on. And there you have it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's really great for people who have busy minds, ADHD minds, neurodiverse minds. You don't actually have to be visual at all, even though I say daydreaming. I have taught this to people with visual impairments, and I say, you don't have to see a thing. Can you feel? Because that's where all the real good stuff is. Everybody can feel. I've not yet met anybody who can't feel.
Very true.
Although I have a question, so and this popped up before when you were talking, and then now I feel like I have to ask
Yeah.
it now, because of course everyone can feel, and I think again, particularly in my job and just the work that I do myself, I think we're much better at evoking the scared, the fear-based
Yeah.
feelings, aren't we?
Yes.
100%. That's a problem.
Yes.
But when it comes to generating those more positive, positive, because it's all neutral, they're all good, aren't they? They're all of benefit. But those kind of higher vibrational feelings, if you like, of joy, safety, peace, all those things. Even for myself, and I do this for a living and stuff, I find it quite difficult a lot of the time, especially if my nervous system's dysregulated, to
Yes.
really conjure those feelings that you want to use for manifesting. So how do you help people, or what do you advise people to do in that scenario?
Well, I mentioned earlier that I've worked with a lot of therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, and so forth. With them, I call it emotional reconditioning. Because it's less woo-woo and it's more acceptable, and they can use it with their clients that way. It's this concept that the more you practice a feeling, the more it becomes available to you. Most of us are waiting for feelings to happen to us, right? We are waiting for permission to feel happy. If my mom calls me today, I'm going to feel happy to hear from her. So I got to wait. Can't feel it now. Got to wait for the thing to happen. But again, the outside world has no reason to give you all these feelings that you're craving, especially if you're not really an active agent in it. So you're just responding all the time to what the outside world gives you. And frankly, it often gives you a lot of really crummy things, which is why we have a lot of really crummy lack feeling responses. That's very well developed in us. In fact, an exercise is, I want you to feel frustration right now. Feel frustration about something, feel impatience about something. Most people are like, got it.
Bam.
Oh, easy.
Bam. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now I want you to feel complete satisfaction and deep knowing and satisfaction about something. Takes a little longer to get to, right? We haven't practiced it. That's all it is. So, I have something like 340 recorded flow dreams that I have made over the last 20 years.
Wow.
I'll pitch my website, flowdreaming.com, or the app. I have an app for it too on your phone.
Oh, amazing.
And think of them like a guided meditation, in that somebody is telling you what to feel. So they're taking half the burden off. You don't have to think about what you're feeling. You can do it without using any of them, strictly on your own, or you can listen to a guided one around a certain topic. So I would be guiding somebody, for instance, I'm going to use be seen as an example.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, if I could just feel like I get my gift out there, if other people would just recognize my gift, if I didn't feel worried or sad or insecure, or that I shouldn't, or that I don't have time or permission or the backing to do my gift. I need to be seen in a bigger way, acknowledged. If I had acknowledgement from the universe, I could go so far, right? So I built a flow dream around that sense of, you are seen and acknowledged. You have a green flag. You have 100% permission. There is nobody and nothing in this world who has any authority to tell you you can't. And if you've given them that authority, we're taking it back. Right? That's it. And that's a really strange, emotion to practice. There's not even a word for it. It's like a couple of words have to go. Be seen, acknowledged, kind of thing. So when you practice it, think of it like meditation. You're creating more neural pathways, right? You're creating a kind of coherent. Here, you know what? I'm going to show you guys this. This is my brainwaves. I just found this like a couple of weeks ago. So I'm like, look. These are my brainwaves on flow. Notice the intense coherence. There's some really remarkable things here, where they're all matching up together.
Yeah.
And some of them are quite a bit higher, indicating a deep state of like meditation. So when I'm flow dreaming, I'm doing something similar, But in meditation, we're quieting, we're releasing, we're teaching our mind to not yap all the time, right? To be in a state of awareness and mindfulness and nowness.
Mm.
In flow dreaming, you're creating different pathways, but similar. You're making those emotional pathways stronger and stronger. So you practice feeling acknowledged and seen, it starts to become more on demand for you. It starts to become more a part of your life. When you have more of that happening as part of your life, what's happening to the world around us? Straight up manifesting, right? I am now glowing with the energy of being seen. I am pre-spawning this. I am pre-acting it. Universe sees me. It supports me. It wants me to move to the next phase. I keep pouring that out, giving it. It's really hard for life then to give me the opposite or get me, out of alignment with that. Things tend to line up and match, It's they tend to come together. It's like water seeking equilibrium. So this is what we're doing. So we're never making the universe do anything. We are simply providing different information to the universe.
Yeah.
It's like code on a computer. You're coding a thing, you're gonna get certain, feedback or certain, output from it. So we're coding ourselves, essentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
definitely. It's
And
fascinating.
with your flow dreaming, and you said it's like a 10-minute practice, do you
Yeah.
suggest to people they do that just once a day?
Yeah, I mean, people often say, "What should I start with?" And like, what's top of mind? What do you have the most emotion around? I bet you can guess what that is for most people.
What, as in a
Money.
negative emotion?
Yeah, some money. Most people are most concerned about money and security.
I knew this as a kid. You were like, oh my God. What is it?
Put you on the
Money,
spot.
yes.
Of course. But again, it's because money for most of us means security and freedom, which are oddly opposite terms, but it provides both, right? So it provides us this perfect balance. So I'm like, great, let's focus on security and freedom. And yeah, we can start with working on your finances. I see nothing unspiritual about that. It's just another material thing, and we're a material world with a material girl here, right? So we're going to work on that because I want that baseline solved. And there are people who are obviously, money manifestation coaches, etc. That's all they are, interested in. For me, that's often a starting point. So you can start, but if it's something else, maybe you're going through grief or heartbreak, or, your relationship has ended and you want healing or you want closure, then you might go ahead and do flow dreaming for that. You can do, you can just focus on as many things as you can emotionally handle. Usually people pick 2 or 3. And if they're using one of my tracks, I'm like, pick 2 or 3 because you don't want to do the same one every day. When you get to a point where you're no longer emotionally engaging with it, you've burned it, like you burned out on it.
Yeah.
So vary it up a little bit. Or you can just do a pure, like I have one called Instant Alignment, which I give away for free, by the way. It's 5 minutes long. All it does is get you into a state of, oh, I'm out of my lack thinking. I'm back into my understanding that I'm a powerhouse in this universe. And everything that's flowing forward for the rest of the day is responding to what I'm giving it. I've forgotten. Now I'm back on track with that. What do I want to give? These feelings. So yeah, 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes. When you've practiced as long as I have, I tend to not do like 10-minute chunks. People usually begin with more like 10 or 15 or even 20 because they're learning how to get into that space. And it's like, I got to calm the body, got to calm the mind. I got to like kind of do a little setup, right? There's music and just kind of releasing the thoughts. If you've been doing it a long time though, go into flow right away. I'm just right there because I don't have to do all that setup because I've made those neural pathways pretty darn baked in and more instant.
Yeah. And I suppose really on a kind of like practical scientific level, what you're doing is, even though you're practicing it for say 10, 15 minutes a day, by changing those neural pathways, the more you do it, the more you're going to be living that way throughout the whole of your day, not just the time that you're actually like, you'll start off just by feeling those feelings when you're doing your flow dreaming, but eventually you're working to that will carry on throughout your day until it becomes your natural go-to behavior.
Exactly. Imagine that you put sugar in your coffee. I don't, but many people put lots of sugar in their coffee. Every day you take a teaspoon of sugar and you put it in, right? You never change the cup. You just keep putting more sugar in every day. Eventually you have a cup full of sugar.
Hmm.
When you're practicing emotions like that, you're putting in the same emotion over and over. You're building it literally inside you. And then as the world responds to it, they're responding more and more to what you've put in. Have you ever noticed how people who are negative, like they have a really good reason to be negative. Their life really is pretty crummy. And
Yeah.
I mean, you want to tell them that they're just, but it's true. You know, their house is falling apart, their relationships, their health is everything. People who are
Yeah.
generally doing well, most of the things are doing well. They're one or two areas, but again, it's because what they've been practicing, and it becomes self-referential. It becomes, if you're experiencing a lot of negativity and no one's ever told you how to be a pre-active person or a pre-responsive person, you're just going to keep reacting with negativity and more, I call it bracing. There's all kinds of terminology I've got here, right? Flow is a philosophy. Flow dreaming is a philosophy as much as a practice, if you can't tell. So they are rightfully doing what they've always been taught to do, which is to respond negatively to something negative. And so they get caught in a wheel, and it's very, very real wheel. You can't say it's wrong.
Yeah.
But the people who are practicing good feelings get into a wheel of more and more good things just keep happening. And it just, and then that starts to snowball. So the long-term benefits of this practice are, well, I guess I'm proof. I've built a wonderful life for myself. Believe me, I've got my share of issues, but generally speaking, I've worked really hard on whack-a-mole to get lack thinking down wherever I can in my life, because I recognize that it's like a weed in my garden. Once it starts sprouting, it is going to go to seed and it's going to get everywhere. So I am always out there trying to get rid of it because I don't want to plant that in me. I don't want to start activating those systems. Of course, I've got my old lizard biological brain there is always going to say, don't eat that cake. You're going to get fat. Like, I know. Maybe I can eat that cake though, and it's going to be fine. So.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think it's, I really firmly believe in with the work that I'm doing as well. I do something that's very similar, along very similar lines to you. I just do it through a different kind of lens, a different but I think what's so important for people to remember, or sometimes it's not remembering, it's actually learning because we're not taught this, is that fact of, like you said, you have to preempt it. You have to focus on the feelings. There's that phrase, seeing is believing, but that's not, it's wrong, isn't it? It's like, it's believing is seeing, because you've got to believe it first. You've got to live it first, and then it will be reflected in your external reality. And like we said earlier, we're so used to having those kind of negative feelings, the fear, the scarcity being our predominant feelings that we're constantly preempting because we're trying to survive. Like it's part of our evolutionary kind of like animalistic nature, isn't it? We're looking for threats and survival, but we don't have to do that anymore. We're not being chased by saber-toothed tigers and tribes people that are trying to kill us from the other tribe. Like we get to thrive more in this, in this kind of time, don't we? But it is realizing that we have to create it within us first, and we have to think of those positive feelings first, and then we will see it come back to us. Because like you said, what we're living in right now is we've done that from the past, haven't we? So you can kind of look at the state of, when you look at where you are now and how you're feeling, it gives you a really good guide of what you've been constantly thinking in the past, isn't it? So you can go, am I happy with this? Not so happy with this right now. What do I need to switch up here? What feelings do I need to start focusing on? Because this is what I've been doing, is creating this right now. I find that really helpful to just anchor me back into that kind of reality. Yeah.
Agreed. I often start with my clients, what's not working? Not because I want to be negative, but because tell me something that's not working, because that's going to show us the next area of growth for you, right? That's the universe inviting you to progress through this. If it's working for you, great, you could do more of that. But we kind of want to, take care of the holdbacks. I sometimes say it's like throwing rocks into a net in the ocean. The rocks are going to sink it down. If you can pull out certain rocks, the whole net goes up again. If you think too about, just think about today. Like, here's another little exercise. How much of your day has been about responding to things? I had to get up because my alarm went off. Then my body wants coffee because it won't function without it. Then I had to answer these emails. Then I had to think about the future, about something I'm doing tomorrow, but I'm only doing that because I set that up yesterday. Or I'm trying to set something up so that I'll have something. But most of our day-to-day stuff is all reactive. We are
Yeah.
reacting to what's been put in front of us, which was based on what we had in the past. 10% of your day, maybe 1% of your day, is going to be pre-active. No, I'm feeling something that I am going to tell my future to respond to. And that's why you asked earlier, is 10 minutes enough? Yes, actually. You can spend more time there. It's really depends. Some people can get a little unbalanced, or get a little, I always say there's two kinds of people: action people and pre-action people. Action people spend a lot of their time just doing, without ever navigating or creating an emotional template or any kind of pre-action. They're just doing, and they will burn out. Pre-action people aren't doing, they're not taking inspired action, but they're dreaming and they're thinking and they're creating and they're feeling and they're pre-acting, but they're not taking any action. What happens with them? Nothing gets done. Nothing ever changes. So we're looking for a kind of balance within ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a lot of action, but I'm also going to be doing the non-physical pre-action work. And you might spend 90% of your day in action, but you need to spend that 10% in pre-action. This is what we're taking action for. We're planning what we're going to be able to respond to next. And then, of course, the greater dimension of flow or universal consciousness, which I haven't even really talked about, a concept that, we're here to live to our fullest extent, to live our dreams and desires, to have this beautiful thing called time that makes us chop up our experiences into discrete, examinable little pieces that build inside of us. And we can then, fully taste it, as opposed to everything happening all at once, right? In a kind of non-physical quantum realm, the holographic universe, if you will. We get to have this moment of tasting every little ice cream in the bin, one at a time. So we're picking what experiences we want to have here, but always remember, there was grace, there was flow, there was ease. Everybody else in life is going to give you all the resistance you could ever want. You don't have to ask for any more. Other people are very happy to come up and give you some. By resistance, I mean stress, turmoil, guilt, anxiety, shame, etc. So our job is to constantly focus on, I want the path of greatest ease, greatest flow. I want the path that will lead me into the experiences that I came here to experience, to grow the part of myself or my soul that I was really focused on understanding. And some of that will require some resistance from others, right? Because resistance tends to really stir growth. But I've met as many other people who simply can't be happy or content. They don't know how. As soon as they get money, as soon as they get a good relationship, they're like, other shoe's going to drop. I cannot be in this vibration. I can't be here. And I'm like, we need to teach you how to be happy and in flow. You've never had that experience. You don't need any more resistance. You've done that a billion times. You're good at handling it. You're really good. And you keep handling it over and over. It's like you keep graduating the same grade over and over again. Let's get you into a different grade here. Learn how
And
to
so
be
with those
content.
people,
Mm-hmm.
and when with those people that you say, like just don't know how to be happy and content, and you say you kind of teach them, do you again, is that through the flow dreaming where you're getting them to continuously practice in their imaginations that feeling of happiness and contentment, and you're rewiring that in? Is that how you do it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a combination. The work that I do, typically I'll bring people into flow, but then I'll also just read information for them. If they need to know about a situation from a deeper way, I'm like, let's gain information. Then we can make the energetic corrections that we need to make, and I'll take them into a flow dream. So, yes, I guess that's the answer to your question.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I
Yeah,
would
there's
do.
obviously there is a lot to
There's a
this
lot of
kind of.
pieces. And there's just
I,
opening up and seeing yourself
mm,
in a different way. The whole quote
mm,
mindset coach piece. It's
mm,
really, y- you know, I love finding patterns in people. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to find a pattern. You tell me something, I'm going to find that same pattern in every little piece of your life, your relationships, your health, your money, your everything. And then I'm going to say, I see some blocks too, right? Or I call them ceilings, places where this is just how it is, Summer. It's not going to be different than this. Or I can't go to that space, or that's impossible for me. Or, nah, that's just out of reach in this lifetime. Do you know how often I've heard that? Like, really?
yeah,
Okay, if you say so.
yeah,
I don't know how many more lifetimes you got to practice this one, so you might as well start thinking differently now.
yeah, exactly. I
So we
mean,
look
I
for
have that.
ceilings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
no, I see that a lot, and with my doing the past life regressions,
Yeah.
I can see, I'm even seeing, I'm the same. I love seeing patterns in
Yeah.
people.
I was
That's
thinking that.
like,
That's you.
it's my thing. I love the
Mhm.
patterns and I see it, but, and again, I get to see it through the past lives as well. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
we want to get you doing it this life. You've done it enough. Like, let's not. And I hold that in my mind whenever I'm
Exactly.
seeing, I'm like, come on, I don't want to come back and do this again. I'm done, please. Like, it's
Yeah.
great motivation. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
And
oh wow.
in one of my books, I think you can see it, Stuff Nobody Taught You. It's the last one that I wrote. I have a whole chapter in there, and this is something I also taught in me school. I call it Your Life Major. And it's exactly what you're referring to. We all have, it's like a major. If you've been to university, you go to school because you have an interest in something. After you've been in school for 4 years, you hate it. You never want to do another class in again. You just want to graduate. You're done. Okay?
Yeah.
We're similar. We come here, and why do we have repeating experiences? Because it's your major. You can learn all you can about it. And some of
Yeah.
us, we have a need to really knock it out of the park. We really want to get this major solved. We want to dig in and get the hardest stuff, take the hardest classes, take the honors program in our major. And so when I'm working with clients like this, and it's like, I've been divorced 4 times, I have 4 different autoimmune diseases, and I'm like, you have a major? Why did you pick that so hard? Come on. But now you know this about yourself. Guess what? You have the capacity to do the exact opposite. As deep as you got yourself into it is as high as you can get yourself out of it, because that's the energetic being that you are. So every one of us, I see these majors playing out. And of course, in psychology, there's, a very different way of interpreting and explaining this, and attachments and regulation and, family systems and all of that. But it's an easy idea to grasp that, oh, the reason I never have a good relationship is that's my major. So I'm going to focus on graduating. So once you graduate, what does that mean? It means now I get to choose something else to work on or develop inside of me. And I think we all want to continuously develop. I don't think any of us want to just get to that point of floating, I'm just goodness, because then we wouldn't be, I don't know, savoring experiences and growing our awareness of everything. I'm looking at it from both a physical and non-physical, or embodied and disembodied perspective, right? When I'm
Yeah, sure.
disembodied someday, as we all will be, I still hope I have a feeling of I can see and feel everything, but I'm still curious and I want to know more about this.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I agree. I think it's part of us. It's like part of our soul, isn't it? To learn and expand and grow. And like we were saying right at the beginning of the conversation, the more you dive into this, the more you see it is just infinite, isn't it? And if it's infinite, then we're going to be learning and growing forever. And I think that's a really good mindset shift. Going back to what you said right at the beginning as well, where this can kind of get a bit toxic, this kind of, arena that we're in of I have to fix myself and I have to be, no, you're never gonna, there's always gonna be more to learn. So like just enjoy where you are at the moment as much as you can. When it's heavy, I know it's tough. I know that, but still, if you can I find it really helpful to zoom out to that non-physical perspective as well and just look at the bigger picture. And like, this is a speck of time, this is a life. You're never gonna be Tash again like this in another life. Like make the most of being her or being being Summer or Becky and get what you want to get from this life. You chose this, and then you'll move on to something more when you've checked it all off and graduated, like you said. It's a bit more of an exciting way to look at it.
It is.
I get a little Buddhist. I just say, look, there's suffering and then there's non-suffering. And there's a big bucket of emotions that are not suffering, that are happy, good feelings, and a big bucket of them that are suffering. So I'm always navigating away from the suffering bucket. Recognizing that when I have feelings that make me suffer, okay, what's the point of this? What's it telling me to do? What's it asking of me? And many of us get trapped in just acknowledging the suffering feeling over and over and over again. And we get stuck in a state of acknowledgement. I actually have a term for this called lag time. It's the moment between acknowledging a bad feeling or situation and when you finally do something about it. It's like the fire alarm going off in your house. It'll just keep going off until you do something about it. And many of us get stuck in this lag time of listening and, hearing the suffering and feeling the suffering over and over. All the suffering is asking us is, hey, can you do something about me? Can we change this? Can you push through to the other side? Can you have that conversation? Can you think differently about yourself? Can you go to the gym? And then, that itself is a whole lesson of a mastery for us. But so avoid the suffering if you can.
Or
listen to it.
Isn't it?
Yeah, because we do cause our own suffering a lot of the time, don't we? And so, and if we're causing it, it means it's in our control to choose something different. It doesn't mean that the external circumstances are going to be sunshines and rainbows all the time, but it's how you perceive it with the emotions that you're focusing on, whether they're suffering. I don't know. Thank you for that. It's really important sometimes, I think, to come back to that.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to digress on that, but it seemed relevant. Yeah,
it is relevant. It was really relevant. Summer, I feel like we could honestly go on talking to you for ages, and I would we didn't get to touch too much on the empathic, the thing that you're going into now with the intuition, the empathic intuition. So it would be amazing if we could have another conversation around that another time. But thank you for today. I think this is flow dreaming. It's fascinating. There's been so many little nuggets in there as well. It's just nice to have that reminder.
Oh, it is.
Yes, remember that. So thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Summer, can you just remind people? We'll obviously put all your details in the show notes, but where can people most easily find you?
Oh, I'm a little bit of everywhere, but flowdreaming.com, and that's flow with an F, like Frank. I have an app where you can get some free flow dreams, and I have a whole tutorial that I've built. YouTube. And I also have a podcast that has 21 seasons. It's been going since 2005. And yes. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes there for, free learning on all kinds of topics. And then, of course, I'm happy to work with people and they can just reach out to me and we can do a session together and kind of explore if they want to dig deeper and they think this is a modality that'll work for them. So those are the top places.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Summer. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you guys so much.
Right, guys, that's it for another week. We will see you next week.
Take care.
Thank you. Wonderful conversation. Great questions, by the way. It's really a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much.